one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Brother Rogers, thank you very much. I'd like to welcome everyone today. Thank you again for being here. Please silence your phones. We'll call this meeting to order. We have a quorum. First item up, Ms. Iwaski, citizens' comments.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Item number 1, consider and take action on minutes from previously held meeting of Commissioners Court on September 24th, 2019. Any additions or deletions to the minutes? Entertain a motion.
Hearing none, Judge, I move that we accept the minutes as presented for the regular session of the Commissioners Court on September the 24th.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Giesland, second by Commissioner McCann to approve the minutes of September 24th as presented. All those in favor? Item passes. Item number 2, consider and take action to proclaim October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month for Henderson County. And with us today, we have Ms. Della Cooper and a whole slew of individuals that are with us every year at this time. And if you would, please come forward and tell us who you brought with us today.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have the staff for the East Texas Crisis Center, and we have some of the staff from the Help Center, Crime Victims Response. And I forgot your new job, but you're a part of the Help Center. So we do really well.
Okay, thank you.
We need some help.
Okay. As you're doing this, tell us what these signify for the public.
Purple, it represents domestic violence, and so we're bringing awareness for domestic violence. And twice a year we come before you and we ask you to sign in proclamations declaring Domestic Violence Awareness Month and Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And I think and I appreciate each and every one of you that allows us to do this, and for your response and for what y'all do for our community. And I will read the proclamation without my glasses fogging up. Okay. Proclamation 2019 Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas the problems of domestic violence are not confined to any group or groups of people, but crosses all economic, racial, gender, educational, religious, and secular barriers, and it is sustained by societal influences. And whereas the crimes of domestic violence violates an individual's privacy, dignity, security, and humanity due to the systematic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economical control and/or abuse. Whereas 1 in 3 women will experience domestic violence during her lifetime. 1 in every 4 women will experience sexual assault in her lifetime. 1 in 6 men have had abusive experiences in their lifetime. Approximately 15.5 million children are exposed to domestic violence every year. Whereas local programs, state coalition, national organizations, and other agencies nationwide are committed to increasing public awareness of domestic violence and its prevalence, and to eliminating it through prevention and education. Whereas important partnerships have been formed among criminal and juvenile justice agencies, healthcare providers, allied professionals, and victim services to assist victims of domestic violence and their families. Whereas it is important to recognize the compassion and dedication of the individuals who provide services to victims of domestic violence and work to increase public understanding of the significant problem. Whereas we encourage domestic violence victims and their families to seek assistance from appropriate victim services organizations such as the East Texas Crisis Center. Whereas victims should have help to find the compassion, comfort, and healing that they need, and abusers should be punished to the full extent of the law. Victims of violence should have access to medical and legal services, counseling, emergency and transitional housing, and other supportive services so that they can safely escape the cycle of the abuse. One thing that I do want to mention, and I know that numbers are very important, we just got done doing our fiscal year through one of our grants. And through this last fiscal year, we serviced 595 women, children, and men. And this is 106 more than last year. And so, as I generally say, it's kind of a two-sided coin because people are getting the information of where to go and to get the services, whether it be for protective orders, divorces, relocation, or anything like that. And so we are having more people come in and seek services. And so that is a good thing. Thank you.
Gentlemen?
I'd just like to thank you for what you do. Those numbers are overwhelming to me and to the public, including myself. I just really wasn't sure that the numbers were that high. It's crazy. But thank you for what y'all do very much.
Well, I see that, I mean, the numbers, as Commissioner Thomas says, keeps rising, and it's kind of the world that we live in, but it takes a special group of people to help the people that are in need, and I congratulate you and commend you for the work that you do here in Henderson County.
I'd like to say thank you also. It's unfortunate we live in a society where we have to deal with this type of violence. We do. Thank y'all for dealing with it.
Commissioner?
I've said to you all several times that, the gratitude the court has for the work that the East Texas Crisis Center and the other organizations that help in this situation. October is the month that we're dedicating for this, but no month should be dedicated for this. No month, because it shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be tolerated. The numbers are climbing. That's appalling. It's truly appalling. You've got the word out, and so there's more people coming. Thank you for that. I just wished over the time that I spent on this court that these numbers would start to drop. But it doesn't seem to be happening. So again, I commend you all for the time and effort you put in supporting the victims of Henderson County.
I'll add, there's one particular part in this proclamation that is the reason we have these events. And it speaks specifically to the societal indifference. And that's not the indifference of the organizations. That's the indifference individually. And that's the part that we hope one day to change, so that everyone takes ownership of the situation. As these gentlemen have said, we appreciate you greatly for all that you do, because in the face of that societal indifference, it gets very frustrating. So thank you very much. And for everyone that does not know, there will be a reading of the proclamation at the courthouse at noon, and several other speakers as well. Is that correct? All right. Well, gentlemen, we have this proclamation. We'll entertain a motion.
So moved to approve.
I'll second it, Judge.
Motion made by Commissioner Giesland, second by Commissioner Thomas, to declare October 2019 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. All those in favor? Item passes. Thank you again. Item 3, a presentation by the Henderson County Historical Commission of the Texas Treasure Business Award to Spencer's Hardware. And today with us, we have Ms. Smith and Ms. Brown. If you would, please come forward. Everybody knows about Spencer's Hardware. I remember it from when I was a kid. And that wasn't that long ago, I understand. please.
Just a quick recap. The Texas Treasure Business Award is a program that the Texas State Historical Commission started in 2005. And Spencer Hardware is just our second store in Henderson County to get the award, so that's kind of cool. A business can be considered for this award if it's been a for-profit business for at least 50 years. They can change owners, they can change locations, but they have to have the same or similar product. And since Spencer Hardware has changed hands a lot, some of the history I'm going to have to go through real quick, or we'd still be here at noon when it's time to go over on to the courthouse floor. When you go down to 300 South Palestine, where Spencer Hardware is now, there's a sign that says Spencer Hardware, established 1899. And it was, thereabouts. It started when a young man by the name of Eugene Spencer decided to branch out after working for 8 years from another store here in Athens. In 1898, he was the Spencer of the Miller, Carroll, and Spencer Company. Everything you need for the farm was how they advertised themselves. Then in 1903, he was the Spencer of the Kidd and Spencer Company. They were dealers in hardware, saddles, harnesses, and undertaker supplies. Important things. In about 1905, he established his very own Eugene Spencer Company, sometimes known as Eugene Spencer Hardware and Furniture. And by 1913, he was operating on the northeast corner of the square. Now that's down by the Texan Theater, not this one over here that most people think of, but down there. His sons Wofford and Eugene Jr. started working with him sometime in the next 9 years, and then Eugene passed away in 1922. And the next year, down on this end of the square, the northwest side of the square, where Athens Brewery is now, one of the most spectacular fires in the history of Athens occurred and burned to the ground the oldest and largest building in town, the E.A. Carroll hardware store. But the next year, the Spencer brothers, using their brain, wanting to get the most desirable lot, purchased the lot and built the 2-story building that we now know about. The building's been known as Spencer Hardware Building and the Spencer Carroll Building because Carroll and Lear's undertaking parlors were right behind the hardware store with their facing Prairieville Street. In 1931, the brothers decided to split. Wofford took the furniture business, backwards. Wofford took the hardware business, Eugene took the furniture business. The furniture business sold more furniture than hardware, and the hardware business sold more hardware than furniture so they could get better wholesale prices. And then when the brothers have customers coming in, if one didn't have something, they could direct them to the other store because they knew what each other had. Spencer kids are pretty smart. But after 4 decades, Wofford decided to retire, and in 1963, he sold Spencer Hardware, the business, not the building and lot. The new owner of the hardware store was Richard Van Cleve, and sadly, after 5 years, in 1968, he suffered a heart attack and died. But his wife, Anida, managed the business even after she remarried. Now, she and her new husband, Charles Leo Jones, formed a partnership with Bill Holloman, and they ran the business. When they posted an advertisement that the ownership had changed, they said they also had outboard motor repair. And if you didn't realize in the last 5 years 2 lakes had come up in Henderson County, you would think a hardware store doing outboard motor repair was odd. But, drop your motor off, do your work, be ready for the weekend, go party. Go fishing. With Mr. and Miss Jones and Mr. Hallman running the business, the Spencer heirs sold the building and lot that it was on, but they still ran Spencer Hardware there for a while. And then, Henderson County purchased it, and it was the annex for a while, and now it's the brewery. Back to the business. In the late 70s, early 80s, with limited parking and limited room for expansion, a lot of businesses got out of town. And Jones and Holloman in 1980 bought some land down there on South Palestine that we know is the hardware store now. And in 82, they sold it the business, the building, and the lot down there to Don and Edna Measles, I've heard it both ways. They kept the business going for 24 years and only sold out in 2006 when Don passed away. It was an easy decision for Frank Lunsford to purchase the business from the estate because not only had he been a longtime family friend, he had started working when he was 12 years old, unloading stock over here at the Spencer Hardware Building. Frank revamped the store and slowly became a hands-off kind of owner. And after a few years with Tommy Chamness as the manager, he sold the business to Tommy in 2015. But he kept the building and lot for himself. And Mr. Chamness says that he's a hands-on, old-school type employer business. We know how to fix things and how to listen to a need and then fulfill it, even if it means directing them to the competition across the street. He and his store serve the community. He once commented, "We're not a fix-it store, but we have helped little old ladies fix their lamps from time to time." The store reminds people of going to the hardware store with their parents or grandparents. One day when the late Larry Gideon came in and mentioned that his first job years ago in 1954 had been at that corner store of Spencer unloading stock, and he would like to be able to say he started and finished his working career with Spencer Hardware. And if you ever had an opening, just let me know. So Tommy says, "Can you start today?" And he did. What a treasure to have people who want to come back and purchase or work for a store where they got their start. To know they serve needs of the community, to have some of the original equipment from the first Eugene Spencer store. What a Texas treasure it is for us to have Spencer Hardware in our town since 1899 or thereabouts. Tommy?
Mr. Chambliss, this is an award from the Historical Society for the Historical Commission, thanking your business in Texas treasure business. And we appreciate all that you're committed to the community, as does everyone in this room, has long interest in it. Thank you so much for doing that and getting to the community. Thank you. I think he's going to get a picture. Can I get 1, 2, please? You bet. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, would you all like to add anything? We do appreciate all that you do.
Don, I called him Measles, but it may have been Mazel. Don and I were really good friends back in the day that he had the store, and that's a great history lesson for Athens. I really enjoyed hearing the history, but I've spent a many of time in Spencer's looking for something and always had help to find what I was looking for. So a great store and a great history lesson for all of us. Thank y'all.
Anyone else?
I'd just like to say this is a great program. We live in a society today that traditions, names that just seem to disappear from the landscape, and they're never mentioned or recognized for all the contributions that a store, a business, families, associated families have done to or done for the community over the years. And I think the Texas Historical Commission is doing a great thing to recognize what you continue to do at Spencer's Hardware, as well as the other ones we've done recently. The other one that we've done this year. So thank you very much. And congratulations, Tom.
Moving along to item number 4, consider and take action to make of an individual to serve on the Henderson County Appraisal District Board of Directors. and we made this open to the public, looking for individuals that were wishing to serve on that board. Our office has not received any other notifications. The gentleman that has served in this capacity for the last few years is Mr. Maurice Cox, who is with us, and we do appreciate his service, and he has asked that to continue his service with us. I'd like to publicly thank him for how he has kept this court notified of issues in the past. He's been a great member when you speak to the other board members, and our illustrious Mr. Bill Jackson. It just speaks volumes to your dedication and help to us, and we appreciate your willingness to serve. Gentlemen?
Are you asking for a motion?
I'll accept the motion, yes.
I will move that we reappoint Maurice Cox to represent Henderson County on the Henderson County Appraisal District.
Second.
Board
Motion.
of Directors.
Motion made by Commissioner Giesland, second by Commissioner Tooley. Any further comments? All those in favor? Item passes. Maurice, thank you very much. We
Thanks,
really do
Maurice.
appreciate what you've done. Item 5, consider and take action to amend the policy and specifications for the setting of driveway culverts on county road right-of-ways. Gentlemen, we have before us policy that was established, 4 years ago, Commissioner? About 4 years ago. And once we do have established policies, from time to time, they need to be updated as times changes. Commissioner Giesland, you have put quite an extensive amount of work in the original and in this one, so if you would like to speak to it.
This is just the fine tuning of the policy, as you said, that we passed 4 years ago. It's giving some options, clarifying who is responsible for 811 calls before you dig calls. It clarifies a little bit better the responsibility of maintenance of a driveway culvert after it's installed.
Questions for Commissioner Giesland?
I have one. In note G, where it says that the labor or installation labor of setting the culvert backfill with base material and then covering with gravel or any other aggregate material that the commissioner has available. Is there a reason why that we would have to not just use backfill and let the property owner do what they may? That the county would be providing extra expense of the gravel? It's just my...
It was, the original policy was written as gravel. It was modified so that millings could be used or any other material that the commissioner had at the time.
And is that over the base material or?
It's to make it passable. It's, in many cases, when the request comes in for the driveway culvert to be installed, this is prior to construction to start on a particular lot or property.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I think it looks good. Mainly just a cleanup.
If there's no further discussion, entertain a motion.
So moved to approve.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Giesland, second by Commissioner McCann, to approve the amended policy of specifications for the setting of driveway culverts along county road right-of-ways. All those in favor? Item passes. Item 6, consider and take action to establish an ordinance prohibiting the placement of signs on a right-of-way of public roads and imposing criminal prosecution for violation. This has come up over recent years of signs being set in the right-of-way, interfering with drainage and basically becoming a public nuisance, as we have seen in numerous occasions. And Commissioner Giesling, you and the county attorney, I believe, worked on this policy.
And the fire marshal.
And the fire marshal. All right. So, any comments you'd like to make, or?
I will use I'll borrow a line from the county attorney. I don't necessarily like policies just for the sake of having policies. And I think as we look at the federal government and maybe even the state of Texas, we would all agree that there may be too many policies and too many statutes. Henderson County, maybe we have too many. We're almost up to 12. I promise you, I've got a few more years on the court. It'll never reach 20 as long as I'm on the court. It is just little ordinances and policies that try to protect the law-abiding citizens that we've tried to do on the Commissioner's Court. Personally, I've had a multitude of phone calls from a variety of different constituents within Precinct 4 over the years, complaining about signs that range from advertisement, example, high-speed internets that are just propagated up and down the right-of-way. And that's one thing to advertise, but it's another thing never to clean it up. Signs that are nailed to trees. The fire marshal, I believe you can speak to the calls that you've had concerning this same thing.
Yeah, we get calls all the time about we buy land, or you can buy this house, that house, and they're just scattered all throughout the county in the subdivisions and the easements. Before, there's really not too much we can do about it. So from a public nuisance standpoint, we do get a lot of calls about it.
And the irony is that since they don't go out and pick these signs up, over time they will deteriorate and they will fall into the new grass in the spring, and then the county mow crews go through, and then we get the calls because we didn't have a crew that went through and picked up all the garbage or all of these signs, and we've ground them up and slung them up on the county road. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy here. So this policy is clearly defined within section of the Transportation Code 393.003A, giving us the authority to police the right-of-way of this type of advertising littering, if you will. And there's some offenses in how we can manage the program in conjunction with citizens, commissioners, and the fire marshal. That's it in a nutshell, what it's all about.
Mr. County Attorney?
Yeah, I drafted the ordinance at the request of the commissioner and the fire marshal. The ordinance as drafted pretty much mirrors what the state statute says, and what it is actually targeting is what they call bandit signs. There are notice provisions, if you've read the ordinance, that if it's a sign over a value of over $25, which is going to cover most of your metal sign, realtor signs, things like that. I want to point out that's not the target of this ordinance. You can remove those, but under the statute, you're required to send notice by certified mail, hang on to the sign, to allow those people to complain. But really, the target is those bandit signs, those Coro signs or cardboard signs. We also have the metal stakes that end up in the ditches that you guys end up running over with mowers, and they're able to all of the utility poles. So those are really the targets, and then those we can confiscate without actually sending notice. There's a volunteer provision in there that's something the commissioners need to consider. The policy authorizes, again, this is by state statute, authorizes the sheriff, fire marshal, or any trained volunteer. That's something that if we were going to allow trained volunteers, would have to be presented to the commissioners for approval. It would be up to you guys as a court to determine whether or not we're going to allow volunteers, who those volunteers are going to be. Maybe something that if you guys are interested, you may want some of your employees to be trained as a volunteer, because you guys are the commissioners and your precinct workers are the ones out there traveling on the county roads of the county that are dealing with all of these signs as they're mowing and as they're working in the right of way and all of those things. And they will designate an employee or two to send through and training on the sign posts.
If they were in the right of way, we can't remove it already without the ordinance?
I don't believe so. I mean, I believe so because there's a specific section in the transportation code that says, here's the steps you must follow in order to remove it.
So it's
But I can run over it with a tractor. Can't remove it, but I can run over it. That's what my guys are trained in.
And I understand, and again, in the policy, I'm saying it in there, we are removing it, but I think under the transportation code, you're supposed to have a signed policy. Because, what you could get into is arguments from people. We've never had a problem with this, but we've also never had anybody that's picked up the phone and called and complained. And we all know why that is. It's because, first of all, these bandit sign companies that we all see for high-speed internet and cable company and we buy houses, those companies aren't actually out putting out the signs. They're hiring some companies. I see them on 3441. I can drive home one evening and not be a single sign, and then driving from my house to Malakoff the next morning by 7 in the morning, there'll be 30 of them along the right of way. That's because sometimes throughout the night that somebody has come through and they're just paying the service to drop those signs out on the highway, which is why you don't typically receive those calls when you just mow over them or pull them up.
I know some of these signs are just folks trying to make a living. This is not going to give us an opportunity to try to go after those folks, is it? I mean, do we have to see them putting the sign
on
out?
the prosecution side, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a question for law enforcement, and I don't know the comment too much. I haven't done any research on the prosecution end. I don't even know if I could do any research to find out how many successful prosecutions that you're going to have. Yes, it is a violation of state statute. How the fire marshal is going to show who specifically put that sign out. You notice there's a defense in there that again, let's say that I own a satellite company or cable TV company, just told you I'm not the one putting out the sign. May have my name and phone number on it, but I probably hired that out. I don't know for the purposes of prosecution and criminal culpability how you would ever locate the responsible individual to prosecute. If you could catch one, if we go out there and we actually catch somebody putting it out, then sure, I would think that they would be subject to prosecution.
In the audience, we have two of our electrical providers, and you're always seeing signs nailed on telephone poles. Does this have anything to do in any of that?
That's not a correct statement. That's a utility pole.
Utility pole. Excuse me. And the reason I do is I see both of them. If you would, please state your name and who you're with.
Tom Trimble with Encore Electric Delivery. I would say we don't allow anything on our poles. It's not supposed to be there. If we see it, our guys are supposed to take it down. That's private property, and it's a big safety hazard for us. Imagine, if you will, we do use buckets a lot, but we also have guys that climb poles. And if they lose their footing with one of their gaffs, they're wrapped around that pole for safety, and they slide down that pole. And you see these poles that have nails all around the bottom, imagine how that feels. We don't want that. Anything y'all say, but we don't allow it. They're not supposed to be there. We want them taken down and the nails out as much as possible. But we have millions and millions of poles in our system. It's hard to police every single one.
So do you think this would be a benefit to you with this type of county policy?
Absolutely.
Mr. Smith?
I mean, Philip Smith, Tree Valley Electric, I concur with Tom. I mean, it is private property. They're not supposed to be there, but with any policies, I mean, whether it stops or keeps you from doing it, with us, have to put it on hold. No, it's not that. It's private property, and like anything that's attached to it, there's lease agreements in place, things like that. So anything that goes has to be by agreement.
Precinct 1 is mowing right now, and we got some very high weeds that, because we did have a lot of rain in the spring, and had my tractor go down, and I had another tractor go down, and so we're trying to catch up, and we can't see them a lot of times. And of course, then we hit them, and like Commissioner McCam said, well, you know, we're not trying to hit them, but dang, they're right there in the right of way. But free kittens and garage sales, and it's unbelievable the stuff that we can't even see because we're, and they don't take them down. They just leave them. If they would temporarily put them out there and take them down, it would help us. But it is a problem in Precinct 1, and we try not to run over them, but golly, you just can't see them all, and it's a big issue for us.
So if we pass this ordinance, the fire marshal, or as stated in here, one of the commissioners could just pull them up now.
Yep.
After the ordinance.
If they're trained as volunteers.
Even the commissioners?
That training is required by
Yep.
the statute. It says a peace officer, which we put in the sheriff and the fire marshal, because they are peace officers under the transportation code. That's who can allow to pull these up, or a trained volunteer. I would take the position that by statute, it has to be a trained volunteer.
So we would have to train as a volunteer, the commissioners?
Or one of your employees, yes.
Fire
And that's
marshal.
not that's not a big deal. I think I had told the Commissioner, and that's something that I think Shane and I could get together on. I can do the training, Shane can do the training, that's not a problem. And, you know, we could put together training curriculum, show it to you guys, and say, this is what we're going to go over. A lot of that training is, we will be setting out the rules and groundwork, just making sure that our volunteers understood what the state requirements are, making sure they understood which signs we won't take up, which signs we do not, making sure they understand that they've got to document when we take a sign, the location where it's taken from and the date that it was taken. We've got to make sure to determine the value of that. It's going to be going over with the volunteers. Here's what the policy says by statute. It would also be going over any volunteers, some common sense rules and some common sense guidelines that we would want our volunteers to follow out there on the side of the road, not unnecessarily hinder or hamper someone. There are special rules in the state statute that we've incorporated into the ordinance. There are special rules for political candidate signs. If you read that part, you know that on a sign that we're required to give notice on, we've got so many days to send notice. On political candidate signs, it says that we shall notify the political candidate immediately upon removal of the sign. That's what the training would be. And I could probably put together a PowerPoint and probably go over that in an hour and a half time, coordinate a day for training, bring in volunteers, and run through it to make sure that they're trained on what the policy is and how we're going to apply that.
I think the city of Gumbarrel, in their sign policy, says that they have to have the address, the person's name, address, telephone number. and the date that sign was set, or they pull it up, but that's how they can call you and,
And we've talked about that, and again, that's as easy as we either do labels, or we, that's as easy as giving the fire marshal some Sharpies in his budget for office supplies, and let him put a date on the road, on the sign, when I pick it up.
no, I'm saying that, the person that places that sign out there
Oh, has to have a date and time. Yeah.
has to have that date and address and phone number. But that was on a political sign. Now, I don't know if it gets
Political signs too also have other statutes too. They're temporary. You can't have them out more than 90 days prior to an election. You gotta have them picked up in the week of an election. So there's other restrictions on those. Cities are a little bit different too. The cities are not required under the transportation code. You all know that county government, we're limited creatures of government. We cannot do what cities can do and municipalities can do. Municipalities aren't required at all to have ordinance. They can just go out and pull them up. Many of them do. Some of them do have more specific ordinances.
That's what you're saying. Being it's county, we're working under a tighter set of restrictions than a municipality.
Which is almost always the case with the legislature. Again, by Constitution, we are a limited form of government where municipalities are a broad form of government.
After all is said and done, Peter, Philip, and Tom from Encore and Trinity Valley made a very good point. They own those poles. That's private property. Our right-of-way is a prescriptive easement. All we're trying to do is control the right-of-way that we have the responsibility to maintain. And I don't think it's too much to ask to have a policy. I know my guys are more than willing to sit through an hour-and-a-half training of how we document signs we pull up when we have high-speed internet signs. We'll just use that as an example. Not that, they're the worst. That just come up like goat weeds overnight, and no one ever comes and picks them up. That's all we're trying to clean up, to give us a process, rather than taking the call from the constituent that is very upset because they've almost put the signs on either side of their property, which they don't own. So they can't do anything about it, and they think the county should be the one to rectify it, and we don't have a policy that allows us to do so.
Any other comments or questions? Entertain a motion.
So move to approve.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Giesland, second by Commissioner McCam, to approve and establish an ordinance prohibiting the placement of signs on a right-of-way of public roads and imposing a criminal prosecution for the violation. Any other comments? I'll say in my previous life, appreciate the effort on this because there's been more than one tire ruined on a county tractor mowing in the right-of-way because of items like this. So, all those in favor of the motion? Item passes. Item 7, receive financial reports. Okay. Item 8, consider and take action on payroll distributions and accounts cash sheet.
Payroll totals for biweekly 19.
Questions for Ms. Harris?
Hearing none, Judge, I move we approve the payroll disbursement totals for biweekly 19.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Giesland, second by Commissioner McCam to approve the payroll distributions for biweekly 19. All those in favor? Item passes.
We also have August account cash sheet.
Questions for Ms. Harris? Entertain a motion.
So move to approve.
second.
Motion made by Commissioner Giesland, seconded by Commissioner Tooley to approve the accounts cash sheet for the period ending August of 2019. All those in favor? Item passes. Thank you, ma'am. Item 9, consider and take action on submitted contracts.
Yeah, we do have the man post contracts for the rental of the postage machines.
Yes.
They're all coming to end of life this year, so
These are the smaller machines, and we have 7. Questions?
This is a Hassler machine, which is being sold by Neopost. Or does Neopost own Hassler? Is that?
These are rentals, and we pay a yearly fee on these small machines.
You can't buy these machines though, can you?
Not that I'm aware of.
I couldn't find any place that you could buy the machine outright. Because this comes, the $14.99 a month comes with a maintenance contract.
Right.
And that's why.
And they're very responsive.
And normally they just send out a new machine and replace the machine versus maintenance on them. These new ones are going to require internet connection, which I've got to talk to Josh about. But
the only thing that kind of confuses me is there's Neopost and then there's Jet Business Systems. Is that the company we're dealing with, this Jet Business System?
not on these. Jet services our big machines here and at the courthouse. They do like the maintenance side, and I guess did the.
And Jet does that?
I mean, we.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as the, that was like a lease purchase on our.
On the big machine?
The big machine.
Okay.
And so Jet.
And so then the bill comes annually on the small machines from Neopost, but then all the refills comes from mailroom services.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's kind of confusing to me, because there's 3 different companies involved in our postage meters. Okay. And we've, Kathy Brim spent countless hours 4 or 5 years ago analyzing Pitney Bowes and these folks and other folks. These still the best game in town?
I'm not aware of anything that's changed. No.
Okay. I have no further questions, Judge.
Any other questions? We went to this process a number of years ago, moving away from just a roll of stamps in the offices. And we found that even through this, with the added expense of the machines, that we're actually able to reduce our postage expenses. I know it seems counterintuitive to be paying, what is it, $15 a month rent on the machines? But there is quite a bit of mail moving through, especially these satellite locations. And when you consider the amount of mail that is generated from these different courts, all the satellite JP offices are in here, plus our courts building, it has worked in our favor over the years. Any other comments? If not, entertain a motion.
So moved, Judge.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Thomas, second by Commissioner Tooley, to approve the contract with Neopost for the 7 locations with the judge's authorization?
Yes.
With the judge's authorization to sign. Any further comments? If not, all those in favor? Item passes. Any other contracts? Item 10, consider and take action on request for right-of-way permits. I believe we have one in Precinct 1.
Yes, I do have one, Judge. It's,
just give me just a moment.
It's, did everybody get their drawing in their packet? It's a West City Creek Mud, that's the municipal utility district up in the Seven Points area. They're actually extending some lines, and they're doing it for, the purpose of it is to connect some dead ends and improve the water quality and give customers better pressure and better quality of water. It's definitely on the end of the system for West Cedar Creek Mud. And there's 3 bores they got to make on my county road 2147, a couple of them on it, and there's one on 2146 road bores. And they've wanting to do that, as soon as we can get the approval to do that. They're going to extend some lines also in that area for the water pressure.
Questions for the commissioner? Hearing none, entertain a motion.
All right, if there's not any questions, Court, I'd like to entertain a motion, or I'd like to make a motion that we approve the right-of-way permit proposal utility line activity for West Cedar Creek Mud for 3 bores in County Road 46 and 2 on 47, 2147.
Second this motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Thomas, seconded by Commissioner Giesland to approve the permits for West Cedar Creek Mud for the road bores on County Road 2146 and 2147.
47, yes.
All those in favor? Item passes. Any other permits? Right-of-way permits? Okay. Item 11, consider and take action on submitted budget amendments. No budget amendments. Item 11, consider and take action on, item 12, consider and take action on payment of bills.
Yes, sir. Court, the bill total this week is $270,492.38.
Commissioner Thomas, questions?
I have no questions yet.
Commissioner Tooley?
None.
Commissioner McCann?
I have none.
Commissioner Giesland?
I'm sorry, Judge, I don't have any items.
We'll entertain a motion.
So moved to approve.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Giesland, second by Commissioner McCann to approve the bills as presented. All those in favor? Item passes. Item 13, consider to take action on submitted plats. No plats. Item 14, open and consider bids. No bids. Item 15, convene into executive session pursuant to the Texas Government Code, Section 551.074, regarding personnel matters, namely review and discussion of applicants for the County Veterans Service Officer position. Gentlemen, if we can get a motion to convene into executive session, is there a particular time?
9:15.
At
10:15.
10:15?
10:15.
Okay. Is that
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner McCann, second by Commissioner Thomas, to move in executive session at 10:15. All those in favor? Item passes. Ladies and gentlemen, please hang around if you like. We'll be in discussion for a little while starting at 10:15. And also there is the event at noon that you can participate in as well. We'll be in recess till then.
Is it 12 o'clock?
Item 16, reconvene into open session. I have a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner McCam, second by Commissioner Thomas to reconvene into open session. All those in favor? Passes. Now that we're in open session, consider and take action on issues related to personnel matters discussed during executive session. Gentlemen, my understanding, there is no action to take. We'll be doing interviews next week.
Correct.
Okay? Then moving on to item 17, consider and take action to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Tooley, second by Commissioner Thomas to adjourn. All those in favor? Item passes. Thank you very much for another day.